Hey, Theater Philadelphia fam. We are back with another episode of our podcast celebrating the 7th annual Philly Theater Week. Today, we are sitting down with a representative of the Columbus Square Drama Club, and not just a representative, the playwright and the director, Tara, right? And I'm so excited for Tara to talk more about her work with these children, right? But also her work writing for them, directing them, and what that looks like in producing youth theater. So, get us started. Please introduce yourself. Let us know where you're coming from and how did you come to be a part of the Columbus Square Drama Club?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's all a very organic journey in that I went to college for theater and did so much of that, experimentation and fun stuff. And I also dual majored in English writing. So I love this little niche area of writing we call playwriting. And so I've just kind of always been drawn to that. And so after that, I've always had a knack for managing. So I did a lot of stage managing and production managing and operations backstage. It's a great way to pay the bills. There's always work to do. And I wound up becoming a production manager for a youth theater company called Prime Stage Theater in Pittsburgh, where we would put on children's plays that were based on the reading lists that the kids were given over the summer. And we would invite those kids to come see the plays. And so I was putting on these plays, but I was working for these producers that had this great vision. So that was sort of a formative thing. And then I moved to Philadelphia, and kind of, start in a new city. But I began working for Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
Doing like fee programs. Like I teach Zumba. I'm a hula hooper as well. So I would teach hula hooping, dramatic play. So it just started as coming in, getting to know people maybe once an hour, like 1 hour, 2 hours a week. And then it turned into, and then there's the pandemic. And after that, it kind of turned into come in and help more. And I was like, all right, we're going to call this a drama club now. We're gonna do this. So that was kind of how Columbus Square formed. But the Hoopsicle is a different story.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that one real quick too. Like the actual
Please do.
production itself is a story, which is the hula hoop community in Philadelphia is a really fun place, just full of great people. And another person who had a great passion for working with kids and hula hooping, we were like, we're gonna put on a musical about hula hoops and anti-bullying. Like it was meant to be. And so that was in 2013. It was like a decade ago that we originally put on this script, and it has just been iterations of it over and over again. But I land here at this center in Philadelphia Parks and Recreation at Columbus Square and make this class in particular. These kids get along so well. This is a great class. So I'm like, okay, we're the Columbus Square Drama Club, and we're gonna put on this hoopsicle. And it's been 10 years, so these kids kind of rewrite it and expand it, and it went from being a 6-page play, and it's now a 16-page play. We added a new song. And so that's kind of like that's sort of how the hoopsicle itself works too. But that's how I got to Columbus Square, and then that's sort of how the production itself is a part of this as well. We use the kids to make the plays, basically.
Yes. It does completely because it's really great for youth to have teaching artists and people come into their lives who think it was imagination for them and with them in mind and take them seriously as well, to be like, y'all, this is a production, y'all want to get it together, but also we're having fun, but we're also going to tell this beautiful, amazing story. And anyone who's ever worked with kids any teaching artist knows that it can be a journey in itself to really, create a group of students or company that's going to work well together and vibe.
I mean, you're very much just describing every step of it, which is like you're first a teacher, you have a classroom, you have student dynamics, you've got to work within that. You've got kindergartners, they don't even know what school is or like what's really going on. And so you're balancing all that, and then on top of it, you're being a cheerleader because you're driving the vehicle of this play and pushing your kids and they're kids, so they're also working with all their things, so you're trying to keep them regulated. And so there's it's working within their focus, within like their emotions and stuff like that. So there is just so much juggling to be done. Not all the kids have the same schedule, some of them are in clubs. I mean, it's a patchwork quilt almost, but like but we're so amped up by like go time that they just take it and run with it, and it's the most beautiful thing because you're just seeing they're not professionally trained actors. You're seeing children be children, but they've practiced hard enough. They're taking themselves seriously enough. They pick out their own lines, and that really gives them a lot of agency to care about what they're doing, and they really care about developing their characters as a result of that. So with Hoopsicle, it had a skeleton script 10 years ago, and it has a plot, but now as I have new actors each iteration that we do it, I say, okay, how do you want to say this? What line do you want to say to bully this kid? And so it helps them memorize their lines. It creates jokes. I mean, it's very organic, and it gives them complete agency in being able to just make it their own play. And it gets better every time. If you give them agency, it gets funnier every time. I almost feel like I'm not writing sometimes because I'm just stealing their little lines here and there and their reactions. And sometimes they interrupt, and I'm like, that's a line. Actually, we're writing that into the script now because that was a hilarious interruption. And there's I also say a lot of the real magic is in rehearsal. Like, I mean, the day of the show is great, but when you've gone through the rehearsal journey, like the funniest things happen in real time. But it's also a long and pressure filled experience. So you can't. While it's magical, it's fleeting, like the theater itself, of course.
No,
So.
you talk very much about the pinpoint that I love about working with youth is the agency that you give them to tell their story and to be present in the moment. And I'm a very process over product person myself. And so when it comes to, I think the funniest moments always come out of the rehearsal process, especially with kids, like, because they are a wild bunch and I say wild, almost they're uninhibited, and it's also painful when you see a kid who's already inhibited, who doesn't want to play on stage. You're like, please, when I was like, just play, create, become the artist that you're meant to be, and to hold space for them to do that is something that I think it's very hard to do. I tell people all the time, not everyone's meant to be teaching artists out here. If you're going, because it's more than just telling them where to go, yada yada. It's giving them the freedom to tell their own stories, teaching them how to do that. And it sounds like that's what you be doing is at the school club. Like, listen, let's get this rehearsal. We got this product, but at the same time, let's have fun while we're getting it together, right? And they take it so seriously. I don't know about you. I cry every time I see my kids perform or they go on to do things. I'm like, oh my God. Because they take it so seriously and they do such beautiful storytelling because they've been nurtured by teaching artists like ourselves.
Yes, and thank you for saying that. I mean, that's so nice of being a teaching artist, and then also the theme of the play itself, I think, informs a lot of the energy that, like, when I go on to write another script, I don't know how, I don't know how it's going to go, but the message of this play is anti-bullying. And so this opens up a lot of conversations about dynamics of bullying in general in our class. So it's like a theme that's kind of permeated the classroom itself. And so that's another thing. I'm so lucky that this group gets along so well. So it's almost kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the theme of the play, like art becomes reality. And so
Yeah.
it's like when you say like, why put on that kind of play now? It's just so good to be teaching children to follow kindness and peace because they are
Mhm.
uninhibited. So, there's dynamics, there's instincts to maybe bully, like actually bully each other. And so, because we're pretend bullying, this is a constant discussion, and we're constantly
Mhm.
apologizing if misunderstandings happen in real time and things like that. So it's fun, like working on an anti-bully play right now at this time in general too, and
Oh yeah.
it
To do
relates
it,
to a lot of stuff. It's
it
the beginning of a lot of things.
it is, especially knowing that I like to say when I'm working with my youth that I recognize that in some ways I am raising the future that I will probably never see. And doing that and holding space for them to understand, to learn kindness and to learn grace and to learn, what it means to have miscommunications and to talk about it and to really, let ego to the side and how to also use your ego for good, like how to do that in a space. A lot of times, because of our education system, they don't. I know many schools that do not have an art classroom or don't have a theater program, and it's
Mm-hmm.
sad because in not having that, you're having these kids miss out on opportunities to really delve into themes of what they need for life. Has
Wisdom. It is
wisdom.
it's like opening up and having discussions of wisdom. And to kind of give an anecdote to everything that you're saying, and discussing bullying and like the finer points of it, uh, and them also with their ideas. I'm going to try and tell this as best I can because it was happening in real time in rehearsal with everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
But we kind a child wanted another line. She wanted another line, so I was like, okay, let's give you another line. And it opened a door to this whole, it enhanced the story so much, where we decided, look, the kids are all bullying, you're gonna stand up first, and
Mm.
the whole group's going to turn on you and then bully you, and you're going to run off stage crying and get this dramatic exit. So that's great. I get the kid what she wants. But then two more kids hop in and stand up, and it opens up this discussion with me and the kids about how it takes more than one person to stop something wrong happening. It often will
Mhm.
take a group to form together. So like all of a sudden I get to like teach this great lesson to the kids because one kid just wanted a couple more lines. And so like that, and
Yeah.
there's so many moments like that, just so many moments, but that's like one of the bigger anecdotes I can think of.
But that's beautiful. That's a beautiful directorship. You know what I'm saying? Like when you talk about it being this 10-year journey to get to this point, it makes me think of like I always say I recently opened like a gallery or exhibit about my youth, and it was filled with like artwork for past 5 years, and
Oh,
I was explaining to one of my friends, I was like, you could have told me that me collecting their things or holding these memories or doing this little one-off art plan that I printed off of Teachers Pay Teachers, that would turn into this. And it's because also I think when you are embodying that is it's more than just production, and it's about the process like you're doing. You unlock these beautiful opportunities to have these conversations, and the kids don't forget it. They're like, I already know Tara is gonna let me be heard. Listen.
I see them, like I see like you see it in their eyes when they're truly listening. I mean, there's another anecdote I could bring up too. Like, um, I have some gender, working with female actors versus the male actors, and we have a
Mhm.
basketball team, so that's like the big boy group,
Yeah.
and you know, just teaching them and getting them inspired. Some of the older boys are getting interested in Eminem, and you know, so I pulled them aside and I played Lose Yourself for them, and I was like, this is about going on stage, and this is about that moment, and like
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're like, yeah, yeah, and they're, you know, they're getting pumped up like they're about to go out and play a real basketball game. um, so yeah, I mean, that's just another like a small trick I use to get them pumped up, and I know these are songs they're gonna hear forever,
Mhm.
and that kind of music aside, like they're gonna grow with an understanding, and
Yeah.
you know, it's just going to inform so much in their future, their acting skills or whatever decisions they go on to make. But
Mhm.
um you know, just also like how they're going to approach like changing the world as it moves forward, because we don't know the outcomes, like you
Mhm.
said. So
And you just
yeah, it's
hope.
just a delight sprinkling my little bit of inspiration and interacting with it, and knowing that there's going to be some small change in the future. So I don't
Yeah, because if you think about it, you look at both of us, you know, there might have been a teacher who saw us a glimmer of our eyes when we were 5, 6, 7, or running through our after school programs, was like, oh, they're gonna do something great someday. Or I hope that they're gonna do something great. And years later, we are. We are continuing on the legacy of teaching and bringing in and investing in these youth.
Yeah, it's connected to like, you know, myself. Like I remember my first play. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
like my first taste, and just being like, I'm doing this forever. And I do know that like this is some of these kids, it's going to touch them exactly like that. And then,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, it's going to, and then just doing an anti-bully play too, and this new generation coming up and discussing how we treat other people, and we're so much more conscious minded at this point that it just gets me excited about like, you know, what's going to happen when like these are our policymakers and things like that. I mean, these are kind of all the thoughts in my mind above worrying about printing scripts and like making
Right.
sure like all the props are in the right place. So you know, it's just, it can be overwhelming too, like just theater, the entire thing in general. So adding in kids is like a little extra like dash of chaos. But it's its own thing too. It doesn't look like, you know, a Shakespeare play would, or you know,
Mm-hmm.
an Ibsen realist play. Like it's very much like I was kind of making a joke, like our concept is like Little Rascals or Blues Clues. Like you know you're
Yeah.
watching children, but it's just fantastic to watch them be so beautiful and to work together and care. And I'm sorry, maybe I've already kind of said this a little bit. So
No, you can't say it
I had
enough.
some more notes. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't say it enough. I think that is something that, like, a lot of times, the notion of it is chaos, but it's a beautiful chaos to kind of manage and to look into, but also to be clear enough in vision to be like, to search out for opportunities like Philly Theater Week, to be like, how can I, spread the word about the awesome thing these kids are doing and what I'm doing with these kids and how, we're carrying on this legacy. I think that is something that I'm always excited when I see youth productions come across Philly Theater Week.
I was delighted when I found Philly Theater Week, and I don't know if it was a Google search, like but and again too, it was like, are we a fit for this? Because we're a children's company, but you know,
But yeah.
we were invited right in, and for me, it's like, you know, currently doing this, you heard what I've done before, and
Mhm.
I'm getting the opportunity to build my body of work as a writer as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, like again, who knows what's in store for maybe working for theater companies, or doing full length plays at some point. Um, and then I also want to say, like, in the midst of like all this chaos and process over product,
Mhm.
I'm really blessed to have the support of Columbus Square Recreation Center,
Yeah.
underneath Philadelphia Parks and Recreation, because I have some coworkers that are just also artists with all
Mhm.
different kinds of like specialty areas that they are in. So I do wind up getting a lovely product anyway. Like it's like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna keep building me beautiful sets and giving me beautiful costumes and making sure that that stuff's gonna look on point, because I'm not much of a designer like that. That's not my strongest suit. So I'm really lucky that I get like the extra like polish of the care of my production manager,
Yeah.
who is the managing director of the recreation center. Like she runs the entire center, but she has a background in like sculpting and textiles and things like that. So she's
like, I got
care of my sets and color palettes, like all that stuff. I mean, it shines. It's beautiful with the help of the people I have. So,
and that's community. That's what you're talking about, is the fact that a lot of times these productions are our first insight to how community comes together, right? To support the youth in their community and to say, I got y'all, what we doing? Like, how are we going to make sure this is, popping? Whether it's parents coming to paint some sets or whether it's like being organized.
It makes it so much, like, as the director I can only do so much. It makes it so much more serious and professional that, like, I have people that are willing to help take the time to make flyers and print really excellent programs and make sure we have flowers to hand out, and there's a display out front of the building when you get there. I mean, like, the things that, like, this, if I was a production manager like I was once upon a time, like, these were things I'd worry about, but right now it's like I'm just directing a children's play. I'm so lucky that I just have this support here to help me make this look like, just I feel like we're a little mini Broadway sometimes. I feel like we can play pretend and say that, like, we really care and, like, take, we pay attention to all the details and hit as much as we can and make sure we don't miss anything.
And I love, and that's what I love about, having to do this podcast and to sit down and talk more, because, getting to know, I'm finna visit the Columbus Square Drama Club. Like, what's y'all to pop and stop by and say, oh my God, what's happening here? Because I think what's important is there's so much work being done for the next generation of theater makers. And I think it's very...
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Can you hang on one second?
Yeah.
Can you please leave this room right now? Thank you.
And so I think, no, you're good. What's important is, like, knowing that we can have these discussions to highlight all of the work that is being done out there, to make sure that the future of theater is taken care of. It's being inspired. It's being planted.
And it's nice to say that, like, bring attention to it, because sometimes you feel a little unseen in children's theater, because because I just, for fun, I'm going out and I'm seeing, like, beautiful, it's like I can't wait to get back to working with adults someday, so you feel a little unseen, and so to come and be a part of Philly Theater Week and be back with the theater people, I mean, it's just, thank you for that. I was really happy that I look forward to every Philly Theater Week every year now. So
yeah,
it's just something I'm, like, looking forward to.
You better come back. We're gonna be like, listen, you want to return? Come on, get what you got up the sleeves. Because I take children's theater serious, and I value it, and I think it belongs in the number. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes children's theater, sometimes I see a children's theater show and be like, now that was the best theater I've seen in a while. Because the kids be nailing it.
I mean, really, that's, like, the funniest thing when I do see a kid's play, and I'm like, that was, like, that can be such
like, that was the best production. What? Like, listen.
I mean, there can be some really magical outcomes because it's so authentic. I mean, like, what is theater? This is pretending. This is acting. But, it's the blend of authenticity with the willing suspension of disbelief, and the kids bring authenticity just simply by being kids. I mean,
period. Because they do. They're like,
yeah.
They're like, I'm gonna perform as best as I can. Next thing, I'm gonna give y'all what I got. You know what I'm
saying? Like, no child stars, nothing like that. Just completely all inclusive. Just kids.
vibing,
whether or not
like
you,
doing your thing.
yeah.
Well, Tara, I thank you, one, for not only coming on and talk with me and kind of chat it up about Hoopsicle Remixed, an anti-bully musical in one act.
It's
That
remixed because we did it last year, so we revamped it this year. Yeah, they said we have to do it one more time, and yeah, so
Shout
and
out
again
to the remix.
that's how it improves. So I'm sorry, I won't interrupt you again.
No worries, no worries. No. Shout out to the remix. We love to know why it's remixed. Period. Shout out to the remix that runs April 5th through the 12th. Right?
It runs on Friday, April 5th, and then on Friday, April 12th. Yeah. So
period. So
two
you got
shows
two
for our kids. Yeah, 2 days they're working very hard.
Yes, 2 opportunities to show up for the kids. You know what I'm saying? Show up for them and support them. It's held at the Columbus Square Drama Club, right? So at Columbus Square Recreational Center that you need to come check out. You should check out your recreational centers anyway, folks. But come support and be a part. We are so excited to have the Columbus Square Drama Club be joining us for the first time in our 7th year of the Philly Theater Week. My first year.
And that's why it's remixed this year. This is our second time, so the kids
remix. So listen, I'm the newbie, y'all. The veterans are the Columbus Square Drama Club. I'm telling you that.
We already get to do that.
We're very excited for that, and I thank y'all for tuning in. Please stay tuned for whatever podcast episodes after this one. I think next we're going to be talking about some very niche things of like how we delve into theater as a unit, as a collective. So we thank y'all for tuning in. Tara, thank you for being on here and talking. Any last words or things you want to shout out before we hang out?
Thank you so much for having us. And yes, please stop by. The show starts at 6 o'clock. It goes till about 6:30. We have a big party afterwards. And, it's children and it's their parents. And please, if you're interested in theater and seeing something special and different and original, come see us. It's fun.
Period. We thank you. All right, y'all. Bye.
So nice to meet you. Bye.
Nice to meet you.